This is Tajikistan, the country that hosts much of the Pamir Mountains. And this is the Badakhshan Mountainous Autonomous Region, the region that literally sits on the Pamirs. It makes up nearly 45% of Tajikistan's land area, but holds only 2% of its population. This is not a place that anyone can just enter. A regular visa from the Tajikistani government won't give you the freedom to roam here. You're gonna need one of these to travel through the region, a special permit known as the Pamir permit. This is the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China, and just below its westernmost tip is a county called Tashkurgan Tajik Autonomous County. Similar to Badakhshan, Tashkurgan is not a place that anyone can just enter. A regular visa from the Chinese government won't give you the freedom to roam here. You're gonna need one of these to travel through the region, a special permit known as the PRC Border Control Area Permit. And you know what the best part is? These two regions, which both require a special permit to enter, are right next to each other. Given my past record, my viewers should have guessed what this video is about by now. Yes, this is the story of me traversing the entire Pamir mountain range, the roof of the world, crossing from one restricted region of Tajikistan to another restricted region of China, alone, mostly by hitchhiking, and without knowing a single word of Tajik, Pamiri, or proper Russian. For all the travelers out there, this is the ultimate guide to the Pamirs. But for me, this is a journey I will never ever forget. It's a story about meeting kind people from all walks of life, whose incredible generosity and warmth carried me through these deadly mountains. So, how did I get here? In 2024, I decided to make a 7-part series about the 7 stunning countries in Central and South Asia. Looking back, it was a terrible idea, as the project pretty much killed this channel. But aside from the horrible viewership, I had a blast making it. And one of the highlights was traversing the entire Pamir Mountains to return to my parents' home in Kashgar. The plan was simple, the route was clear. Kulob in southern Tajikistan was where I started the trip, and Kashgar in western China was where I would finish it. The two cities are 1,200 kilometers apart, and between them are 4 major checkpoints I had to reach: Kalaikhumb, Khorog, Murghab, and Tashkurgan. This journey had a rough start. It was the end of my 2.5 months filming expedition. I was exhausted, weak, and summer was getting brutal in Tajikistan. My last day in Kulob was particularly difficult. When I was awake, the heat was so bad I got heat stroke. When I was asleep, this happened. It is now 2:20 in the morning, and I think I just killed the last mosquito in my room. Check it out. After getting what felt like maybe 2 hours of sleep, I dragged myself in my suitcase to the bazaar. By the way, this is the routine here in Tajikistan if you insist on taking public transportation. You go to the local bazaar, you find a driver, you negotiate the price, you help load up the car, you wait for the car to fill up, and only then does the journey actually begin. And being a relatively young, able-bodied guy, I always got stuck with the worst seat. As a matter of fact, I was crammed into the back so many times that I knew exactly which seat was the worst for every make of car. Finally found a car to go to Kalaikhumb. This is my new friend from Kulob, and this is his little cousin, and that's the grandpa. We're taking this car to Kalaikhumb. It's gonna be very exciting. Okay, so хорошо. Alright, so that's the border check. If you want to enter the Pamirs, you have to apply for a special permit and all that. Afghanistan. So in Kalaikhumb, I stayed in the same hostel both bankrupt stayed while he was here. I quite like Kalaikhumb. It's a peaceful little village. There's only 1,000 residents, little over 1,000 residents. Salam alaikum. Salam. See, the kids are very polite, and there's just a quite unique way to express their love for Tajikistan. I heartbreak Tajikistan. I mean, the people in this region were involved in the Tajik civil war, and yeah, I think they have some mixed feelings about Tajikistan. So behold, viewers, that is the land of Afghanistan. I'm currently in a small town in central Tajikistan called Kalaikhumb by the Afghan border. The headwater of Amudarya, the Panj River, runs through here, and then on the other side of the river is the Taliban country, Afghanistan. I was actually planning to go there on this trip, but honestly, I am reaching my breaking point. So exhausted from filming, moving, talking, and everything. The day before yesterday, I actually collapsed while filming and couldn't get up. Plus, there was news about foreign tourists getting shot in Afghanistan just 2 or 3 weeks ago, so yeah, I decided to skip it this time, and this is the best I can do. Assalamu alaikum. Salam. You know, standing here, I can actually see a lot of things happening. You can see a bunch of Afghan ladies cleaning their carpets across the river. Some kids, I think, swimming. There are kids done with swimming. They're slapping each other with towel, I think. And there are some ladies by the river doing laundry. And there are some kids trying to get their animals into the mountains. I think there are 2 Taliban soldiers right there. I don't know. Yesterday, you know what's so crazy? Yesterday I saw a helicopter taking off right in front of my eyes. It's huge. Fascinating thing, yeah. If you're wondering, in case you're wondering why the video is always so noisy, here's why. Yeah, a lot of trucks coming and going, a lot of construction going on here. And down there, they're building a wall, or more like a fence on the Tajikistan's border, so yeah. Little did I know, this road construction that I hated so much during filming was about to save my ass. The next morning, I packed, ate, left at the inn, and arrived at the terminal at 6 o'clock, looking for a ride to Khorog, my second stop in the Pamirs. I waited and waited, standing by the road and waving at every single passing vehicle, but nobody stopped. It was such a sorry sight that the Tajiks in the parking lot took pity on me and told me to give up and try again tomorrow. But for some unexplainable reason, I felt certain a car would pick me up that day, so I decided to stick it out. After about 3.5 hours of waiting and waving, right around 10 a.m., I spotted something familiar in the distance. 3 cars with blue license plates. And my eyes immediately lit up, because I knew where those blue plates were from. These cars were from China. I waved at them eagerly, praying just this once they would pull over. But then, just like all the other traffic, the 3 Chinese cars drove right past me. I felt a wave of disappointment and stood there helplessly, watching their taillights fading into the distance. It was over. But right then and there, a miracle happened. One after another, the 3 cars that had just passed me came to a sudden stop. It turns out that noisy road construction I'd been complaining so much about was what saved my day. Because just as the Chinese cars were about to vanish from sight, a massive line of diggers blocked the road entirely. I knew it was now or never. I sprinted up to the last vehicle in line and knocked on the window. The driver let me in without a second thought and refused to take any money. As it turned out, he was also heading to Khorog and was the only person in the car. Let's call him Mr. C. He was the lead guide for a private road trip operator called Top Tour, 巅行自驾, a company that organizes high-end custom overland expeditions for Chinese driving enthusiasts across the globe. This 2024 run was just a scouting trip through the 5 Central Asian countries, which explained why his car was empty. He had only brought 2 clients with him this time, along with a local Tajik guide who spoke flawless Chinese. It was this group of 4 that took me in when I needed help the most, and I will never forget them.
I'm a lucky fella. The luckiest dog in the world.
It was easily the most comfortable ride I'd had in years. The interior was spacious, the AC was blasting, and for the first time since arriving in Tajikistan, I actually got to sit in the best seat in the house. And just when I thought the ride couldn't get any better, it did. You see, Mr. C had been behind the wheel for hours and was starting to get tired. After he found out that I had driven across 33 US states and all over Tibet and Xinjiang, he decided to let me take the wheel so he could take a much-needed break. We switched places, and for about an hour, I was driving a brand new SUV down the infamous Pamir Highway. I mean, if that isn't divine intervention, I don't know what is.
国外自驾并且是
国外自驾还开了中国车
啊，
对的，今年的好运都用了，今年的好运。By 5:30 p.m., we rolled into Khorog. They dropped me off right in front of my inn, and a big farewell to the team. Based on my experience, I can tell you this for certain. 巅行自驾 Top Tour is a company with no shortage of integrity, responsibility, generosity, and above all, kindness. So, if any of you are planning to overland from China through the 5 stands in your own cars, you can find Mr. C's contact info in the description below. The inn I stayed at was called the Pamir Lodge. It is extremely famous among the travelers and is featured in many guidebooks.
So this is the hostel I stayed in Khorog. One bunk bed like that will cost you $9. And if you want to have the breakfast included, just pay 3 more, $12 in total.
While there, I ran into Leonie, a German cyclist who is quite popular on Instagram. I actually ended up appearing in one of her reels. Yep, that was me right there. Though definitely not my most presentable look. I also crossed paths with Dan, an American musician and cyclist whom I first met back in Dushanbe and kept randomly bumping into along the route. There was also a German musician who had driven his camper van all the way from Germany, and I even made some great Pamiri friends at a local school.
Tajikistan
It was awesome connecting with everyone and experiencing the Pamirs at their most beautiful time of year.
Folks, we are deep in the Pamirs now. The city behind me, right there, is called Khorog, the capital of the Badakhshan region. To get here, you will need the special Pamir permit and take the infamous Pamir Highway. The route has been in use for millennia, as there aren't many routes through the Pamirs. The road was constructed partly in the end of the 19th century during the Great Game by the Russians, was completed in the 1930s by the Soviets, and is now being renovated by the Chinese. I have driven some terrible roads in the past, but the Pamir Highway was definitely one of the worst. Anyway, Khorog is a lovely little town with just over 30,000 residents, mostly Pamirs. Walking around here in Khorog, you will quickly notice something different about this place. You will find that the English language is widely spoken here despite this region being so secluded. You will find getting cash from the ATMs very, very challenging. And you will find that there aren't a lot of mosques in the city. As a matter of fact, I haven't even seen one. Well, that is not because the Pamirs, the locals, are non-Muslims. The Pamirs are Muslims. They just belong to a very special sect of Islam, Nizari Ismailism, a breakaway sect of Shia Islam. This sect of Islam was brought to Badakhshan in the 11th century, and in the 19th century, during the Great Game, it was promoted by the British and became even more popular in the Pamirs. Unlike the rather strict rules other sects of Islam must follow, Ismailism has no formal clerical structure and no weekly holy day. Because of their unique history, culture, language, and religion, the Pamirs don't usually find themselves fit in the traditional Tajik society. And as a result, there have been quite a few clashes between the local population and the government forces. During the Tajik Civil War, this region declared independence. The Tajik government killed a lot of Pamirs and closed the road to the Pamirs. With no access to the outside world, famine was inevitable. But at the 11th hour, the fourth Aga Khan, the leader of Ismailism, and the 49th direct descendant of the Prophet, sent help.
My beloved spiritual children and my brothers and sisters in Islam, this is an historic occasion, and I will always value it because it is my first visit to Tajikistan.
It was his charity foundation that kept Pamirs from starving. So to the locals, Aga Khan isn't just their religious leader. He is the savior. In the post-war years, the foundation also helps improve the region's agricultural sustainability, medical system, school systems, and even helps send students to Western universities, which explains the high level of education the locals receive here in the Pamirs. As a matter of fact, the lady that runs the hostel I'm staying at, when her son was 13 years old, he received the scholarship from the Aga Khan Foundation, $23,000 every year to study in the best school in Kenya. In this entire region, Badakhshan, only 5 pupils get to have that opportunity every year. Aga Khan visited this region twice, in 1998 and 2003. And according to the lady, during his visits, Aga Khan said the word learn 12 times to encourage the locals to always embrace knowledge. As a result of this emphasis on education, the people in this region are among the most educated in the world. They're proficient in Pamiri, Tajik, Russian, English, and many people speak German quite well. I am truly impressed by the level of internationalism and education in such a remote area like the Pamirs.
Hi everybody, we are workers of Pamir Lodge and we are so happy that, what's your name?
My name is Jingwu.
Jingwu is our guest. And this is Salmon, he's my brother.
My name is Salmon, I'm 11 years, I love Slash Guns N' Roses groups. I also play Jimi Hendrix musician.
Yes.
What about you? What do you want to study in the future, and what's your plan?
I'm graduating school this year, and in future I want to visit Germany, and I have plans to study there Ausbildung
Where did you learn your like? Do you need to learn German and English
Yes,
for?
I'm learning German here. I study course here in Khorog, and in English I studied school for more than 7 years.
Bravo.
On my last night in town, Dan, Alex, the British cop, and I decided to splurge on a nice meal and go to the only Indian restaurant in town. For the record, I freaking love Indian food and eat it everywhere I go. But this place was hands down the worst Indian restaurant I have ever stepped foot in. We waited over an hour for 3 basic dishes, and the food was still terrible. The only redeeming highlight of the entire night was the little dance Alex and I did with the babushkas. Anyway, dinner was an expensive disaster, but I had bigger things to worry about. I packed my stuff and went to bed early, because the next day, I would have to figure out a way to get to my 3rd checkpoint in the Pamirs, the highest town in all of Tajikistan, at the very peak of the old Soviet Union, Murghab. Finding a car heading up to the highest town in Tajikistan turned out to be a lot easier than I thought. I said my goodbyes to Dan, followed the innkeeper's instructions, took 2 buses, and arrived at the regional transport lot that had cars going to Murghab. The driver was nice, the price was fair, and the only real challenge was helping load up the car. Trust me, you have absolutely no idea how much cargo a single car can legally and illegally carry until you travel to Tajikistan. While waiting for the car to fill up, I noticed that my fellow passengers heading to Murghab were mostly non-Tajiks. They were Kyrgyz, and one of them happened to run an inn at our destination. After a quick negotiation, we struck a deal. 2 nights of accommodation with breakfast and dinner cooked fresh for 250 somni, about $23. Honestly, getting that sorted out beforehand was a massive relief.
So the Chinese construction team is working on the road behind me. The road will be closed for another 50 minutes. Yeah, that was a good lunch break. There's another round of bargaining. Try to get a better price. It's always a struggle. I think this is the final stop before we get to Murghab. Funny, this region, actually this exact spot, is called Kalaikhumb. There's one in Tajikistan and there's one in China. До свидания. Bye-bye.
We rode into Murghab by nightfall, and I checked into my home for the next 2 days. It was much better than what I had expected. Not only did I get myself a private room with a table, a teapot, and a sink, but I had the entire guest wing completely to myself. To top it off, the innkeeper's wife was an incredible cook. I could finally let my guard down, relax, and hang out with their welcoming kids.
Hi.
Betty.
It's interesting that I met this Kyrgyz kid in eastern Tajikistan, pretty close to China actually, and he can speak Russian, Kyrgyz, and some level of English, but he hardly speaks any Tajik. So here it says none of us speak Tajik. So interesting. This is Tajikistan though, and people here don't really speak Tajik because this is a Kyrgyz village.
Английский чуть-чуть.
Так.
Папа английский. So people in this region are mostly Kyrgyz. Traditionally, this has been the land of the Kyrgyz herders. Right, if you look at the map, you'll see the Kyrgyz autonomous county, I think, in China, right next to here. So it all makes sense. This is how you take shower in Murghab. Hot water, cold water, you mix them and you pour them into here. Which doesn't look very clean, to be honest. Oh god. Okay, let's do it.
By the way, this is 3,500 meters above the sea level, so breathing could be a bit challenging if you're not used to it.
The thing's very heavy. This could be my workout. Oh god, I'm so tired. Okay, that's good. Goodbye. I think that is where I need to be tomorrow morning to hitchhike from here to Kulob Pass, and from Kulob to Kalaikhumb Pass, from Kalaikhumb to Kashgar. Yeah. We've got a collection of all kinds of trucks. I think that is American. This one is German, and I saw a couple of Chinese trucks down that way. And tomorrow, hopefully one of these truck drivers will agree to bring me to the border.
After 2 nights resting at the highest point in Tajikistan, I looked out at the massive night sky, prayed to the stars for a bit of luck on the border crossing tomorrow, and went to sleep. The sleep was alright. I mean, getting a really good night's rest is just not possible at this altitude. The innkeeper brought over my breakfast first thing in the morning. I ate every single bite gladly, knowing this would be my only meal of the day before I crossed over into China. I said a warm goodbye to the family and dragged my suitcase over to the truck yard. By the way, here's a tip for any aspiring overlanders watching this. Even though Murghab and the capital city of Dushanbe share the same official time zone, the locals in Murghab live their lives an hour ahead of Dushanbe time. If my innkeeper hadn't warned me about this, I would have completely missed the morning truck departures.
I'm almost at the terminal, the truck terminal. Let's hope one of these truck drivers is willing to take me to China. The brand new Chinese EV cars arriving in Tajikistan. These cars will be transferred to Dushanbe in hopefully in 5 days, because the road isn't very easy to drive, especially for those big trucks. Yeah. Anyway, I found my ride. It's gonna be this one right here. The truck driver was extremely nice and helpful. I'm lucky.
After just 5 minutes of chatting around the yard, I met my truck driver, Fasho. Without a moment of hesitation, he agreed to give me a ride to the Chinese border. I offered him 200 somni, but he looked almost offended by the gesture and firmly turned it down.
Check this out. Big ass truck. It's actually the first time I'm in a truck, a co-pilot. I've never been in a truck before. Never. First time.
The 91.5 kilometer stretch between Murghab and the Chinese border took 5 hours to navigate. But honestly, I found myself wishing the drive had taken twice as long, because during those 5 hours, the scenery outside my window became completely otherworldly. I'm not exaggerating when I say I felt like I had been dropped directly onto the surface of Mars or inside the movie set of Mad Max.
We have stopped at, I think, a cemetery for all the containers. Look at this. Check this out. As far as you can see, it's all containers. Quite a lot of good people on this trip. All of them are trying to get into China. Yeah. I have to walk my way back.
After a thorough check at the border, I was cleared to re-enter China. A designated car ferried me down to the main road where my parents were waiting. And just like that, I was in Tashkurgan. Despite the fact that Tashkurgan Tajik Autonomous County and the nation of Tajikistan both share the word Tajik, the local population living in Tashkurgan isn't actually Tajik. Just like the people of Badakhshan, they are Pamirs.
最喜欢什么科目啊？
科目3的呗。科目3？
科目3。
I did a lot of historical digging on this, and my truck driver Fasho even confirmed it for me during our drive. He couldn't understand a single word of the Tashkurgan language. The population here was misclassified decades ago by the central government, and the label just kinda stuck over the generations. Nobody has ever really bothered to correct it. Back in the 1930s, the Soviets classified all Muslim populations in Central Asia who spoke Iranian languages as Tajik. And because the Pamirs are a branch of Eastern Iranians, they were put under the Tajik category. Later in the 1950s, the Chinese government adopted the Soviet classification system. And that's why, even though the Pamirs in Tashkurgan can't understand a word of Tajik, they're classified as Tajiks in China. The following day, I took some time to explore Tashkurgan. It was a gorgeous place with gorgeous people who definitely know how to dance. We checked out the stunning ancient stone citadel before finally heading to Kashgar. With our family car by my side, you have no idea how relieved I was. For the first time in months, I could finally stop stressing over logistics, stop hunting down random drivers, and just let my mind rest. By 3 p.m., I finally arrived at my parents' home in Kashgar and started drinking immediately, celebrating the end of this wild 1,200-kilometer journey across the Pamirs. So, if you have ever looked at a map and wondered if it's possible to cross into China overland from Tajikistan alone without bringing a vehicle, the answer is yes.